I want to go to John Brakey. John, can you give us a quick rundown on what's happening in Arizona? This is really nuclear war in Arizona, man. People are really at each other's throats over this one.
It's pretty amazing that here we are in the middle of February and the election season is not over in a lot of states, particularly Arizona. And so I have filed suit working with the Libertarian Party against the Maricopa County and Maricopa elections, and the county's the Board of Supervisors, for making believe that they're doing something and calling it an audit. And totally misleading. It's very disturbing. And they're claiming that they've done 4 audits already. And these 4 audits, what are they? They're logic and accuracy test. And you know, that's an important test. It proves everything's working right now, but it doesn't prove that all the results are good because of the scenario of Volkswagen. So we're breaking ground in that lawsuit, claiming that 92% of the ballots have never been tested. Now, I want you to know, I anticipate everything adding up perfect, but we're 0.1%. And, you know, I've been really working hard with Republicans who are deeply involved to help them find a center, because a lot of them really want to know if elections are real or not. These people are like we were in 2004 for many of us who fell down the rabbit hole, and they got some wild, crazy ideas, a lot of conspiracies. You can tell my voice is hoarse because I do so much radio and talking to people to help them understand. And so we will be in court Wednesday. Believe it or not, the Republican Party filed an amicus brief to join the suit. And the guy who did the suit was one of my lawyers 7 years ago in the Nogales case, where we had an NSA agent come in, and that agent, Mickey Donahoe, testified in court that a logic and accuracy test only proved things were working right at this moment. And a year later, the Volkswagen scandal broke, and Volkswagen proved, because first off, what's the difference between a logic and accuracy test and an emission test? Both tests prove everything is working right, when clearly in the Volkswagen scandal, they shipped in 588,000 cars in the United States, passed emissions maybe 2 million times and got away with it. Built 11 million cars worldwide that cheated all the way around. I mean, it's an incredible story.
John, so exactly and precisely, what are you suing for? What are you asking?
I'm suing for access. They want to block out the political parties. Really, I think that everybody knows that they're really blocking me out. And they brought in, believe it or not, hard to believe, the 2 Dominion test companies that tested their equipment for the EAC. Well, they brought them in to run the test. And so all of these tests.
You want access to all ballot materials in the Arizona election?
No, the Senate does, and I'm convincing them to get out of that picture. What I want is, I want the ballot images. I want them to be sent out to 2 different vendors. First one is our friend Ray Lutz. Let him have a set and pay for it. And then also Clear Ballot, and then return the images back to the people in 743 precincts that anybody can audit. Voting is the secret process. Counting is a public process, and it's not meant for government to count these things secretly and not give us audits that are believable. Rather than
you want the publication, the public availability, public access to all the ballot images from the election?
That will come to the Senate. What I'm suing for is that they're illegally doing things that don't prove that the system is real or not. They're making believe they're doing something and spending a lot of money, and they blocked out the political parties from being part of the fiduciary. In my state, we are a party-centric state. The parties have access. There's 3 kinds of access in this country. One is candidate, that's mostly East Coast. The second type is party oversight. We're 1912 Constitution, parties existed. The third type is more public, which California is exploring, which I prefer that more than the other 2, because the third one is not as political. It really isn't. You don't get
All
sold
right.
out
Well,
by-
listen, whatever you can post about this lawsuit, keep us informed. And
It's very
but I've been
exciting.
following
The
some of the.
Republican Party has jumped in and become an amicus brief. That's an interesting scenario. And I'm trying to drag in the Democrats because in 2010, we put a platform in our party, because I am a Democrat, proud of it, progressive, more or less. And we're going to hold them to it too, because the reality is we need to approach this problem as Americans united for democracy, integrity, and transparency.
Okay. Well, listen,
That's my
post all the documentation. If you'll post the amicus briefs, a bunch of us, I'm sure we'd like to see the amicus
Yeah.
briefs. Send Steve Caruso the PDFs. If
I will.
Steve and Mike, send them the PDFs. We want to see these documents. This is clearly a lawsuit that's going to have a big impact. And
Well,
I'm
the
glad you're
Senate's
doing it,
involved.
and we need the detail. Ray
So-
Lutz?
You know what I'm hoping,
Yeah, so
just
let me just-
quickly to add, is that we're hoping to have a Senate hearing. This time, not to have Rudy there, it's to have people who are Democrats there and let us tell the Republicans what's really wrong, and also convince our fellow Democrats that we have to stop being tribes, act like Americans. Let's go
Okay.
solve our problem.
Ray Lutz?
So, here's the important part is we get these ballot images. We have this thing, Audit Engine now, which runs in the cloud and is able to process all 2 million ballots and look at them in a very short amount of time. I'm talking about, less than half a day, we'll have the whole thing done after setup. And so we can have the reports ballot by ballot, what the differences were, how the bubbles were misinterpreted and so forth. What this will do is definitely either expose something or not. And already when we've tried to apply this in Florida, Volusia was missing 41,000 ballot images. They had to go back and look for them. We had, thousands of duplicated ballots from St. Lucie County. We had to get that result. So just at the very initial thing of, look, where are these ballot images? Let's at least count them up and make sure that that corresponds with the number of votes that you say you have. Without even, looking at them, that's a good first test. And, if we can let people also, when we get done with this, our report, we can show, here's the differences. You can sample, look at any ballots you want and see if they correspond. And key to this is being able to mate the actual physical ballot to the image. And we can go in there and sample the actual physical ballot, take a look at it, make sure it looks at the image, looks exactly like the image, and provide some confidence that the result is what they say it is. Because John is right. A lack of transparency here. The public doesn't feel good about this because people go back into a back room and then you come out and say it's all done and everything is fine. And this, so it's, and you can watch some of the podcasts and stuff of the people there who are definitely up in arms about what they think is a huge amount of election fraud. But it's our goal to either find it or show that that it didn't exist one way
So
or the
you will
other.
be
and have
using-
proof for it.
You will be using the ballot images.
Yeah.
And when the ballots are scanned into the scanning machines, at the end of the process, you want to retrieve the ballot images now and use them, compare them to the paper ballots. So this is the ultimate, one of the ultimate goals we're looking for is the ability to do this. And if you establish this in Arizona, where you can go in, look at the ballot images, and then look at the actual ballots, that will give us, going forward, a really good monitor on whether elections are stolen, right?
Yeah, well, we're going to have a report. I'm working on it right now because we've done these audits in Collier County, Florida, Volusia County, Florida, and we're working on St. Lucie. We now know what the difficulties are in actually implementing this, but we're solving all those, and this will provide a way to have an independent look, because the worst thing about what they're doing right now is they're having the election officials themselves do the audit of themselves. So this is like asking someone on the freeway to give themselves a ticket if they happen to go over the speed limit, flag down the officer and say, give me a ticket, please.
Well, this
just
is
ain't
good.
gonna happen, okay? So we have to have independence, citizens oversight. The organization that I represent is independent, nonpartisan. We've developed this without any, ties to parties or anything else, or these big manufacturers that no one can trust. So we can provide that independent approach.
So you will come out of this with a protocol so that we can do in all American elections, we will know exactly how to take the ballot images and compare them to the paper ballots. So that really closes the door on the submarine here. I mean, that's a big deal.
Even if you can't get all the way to the ballot, to the paper, being able to check what the ballot images say, comparing that to what they claim later on, it was the final result, eliminates most of the big hacks that I'm worried about, which is where they just go into the tabulator and shift 10, 20,000 votes over from one candidate to another.
Okay.
Going in and manipulating the ballot images is very difficult to do, especially if they're not prepared to do it. But to really tie it off, you're right. You need to go in and look at the paper and compare that with the final outcome as well. And we're for doing that.
All right. Well, this is a big deal. As everybody knows, we've been looking for a way for at least 20 years, if not 240, to give ourselves the ability to check definitively, based on ballot images and paper ballots, whether or not a vote count is accurate. And this actually gives us the ability to do that. If we have elections that are conducted on hand-marked paper ballots that are scanned in to digital machines, they give us a ballot image that's preserved, then you'll be able to show in Arizona exactly how we can check to see if the vote counts are accurate. That is a big deal.
I want you to know that the ballot is married to the ballot image because they're using electronic adjudication for overvotes and write-ins. And so you got the perfect scenario. I just can't figure out why they haven't given them out. But, I'm lecturing and meeting with groups of, Trumpers. I walked up to this one building and I was scared to death. I thought I was going to a studio, and I walk in, it's Trump signs and mega. And I walked in there and I found people just like me.
Okay. All right.
It's interesting, we are tribes. And it's interesting when a guy like me who can go in there and help that tribe understand.
Okay. All right, that's good. Okay.
Let me just say one more thing, Harvey. Let me just say one more thing, because to put this in perspective, we used to have hand-marked paper ballots that were counted in the precinct, and they'd call in the numbers, very distributed. Okay, so it was very hard to affect that more than a precinct or here and there. But now we have these huge manufacturers, two big ones. One that has 47% of the market, the other 37%. And these machines now are everywhere. And so basically we can't trust these machines. We can't trust these big manufacturers. You look at them, they're ties. There's two brothers that were behind both of them.
Yeah.
Of course, we've heard about demeanor and everything, but so this is going to allow us to get this thing under control. Thanks.
Great. Very good. Thank you so much. Laura Chambers.